Hello and welcome to another episode of Loud and Opinionated. Yes, we do this show. As we've said, it's not our full-time job as much as we'd like it to be. Things happen. Derek got a new job. We got a new house. I've just been writing articles. That's what I've been doing in my spare time.
You got glasses.
I have to wear glasses because I've been having headaches and these help.
Nerd.
Maybe these actually are reading glasses, so I'm just old. That's really what it is.
You look good, bud.
Thank you. So yes, Derek's back. I'm back. We're gonna try and do this as much as we can weekly. We really are. You got to believe us when we say that stuff.
We'll get there.
Yes, we'll get there.
Sorry, it's like 99% my fault.
I mean, I wasn't gonna go there.
I'll take
but
the blame, Jake.
I jokingly
Life's just been crazy lately. I bought my first house. That's a hell of an experience.
How was that? Was it stressful? Because it seems like it was stressful.
Yeah, it was stressful at times. I mean, there's just so much you have to do. You don't realize there's so many different bills to pay, and you got to get the home inspection and figure out your insurance. I had to switch over my car insurance because I wanted to bundle it with my homeowner's insurance. Luckily finding the house part was actually pretty easy for us. We only looked at 2 houses and we chose the second one. And we negotiated for about 4 days before they accepted our offer. And from there, it was just being on the phone with my lender and my realtor just about every day, getting all the details worked out. But yeah, so it's kind of funny. The day that I closed on the house, September 28th, I went there in the morning, and then a couple hours later, I went straight to this interview for a job at Kiewit, doing a similar thing, but I won't get into the details of that. But so I interviewed about 3 hours after I closed on the house, and then 2 hours later, Kiewit called me and offered me the job. So it was just a whirlwind of a day. A lot to celebrate, though, and I started my new job this week. Got all moved into the house, so hopefully life will, balance out a little bit, and it'll be easier for me to get into a routine doing this every week.
Yeah, man, that's really exciting. You're further in life than I am right now, so that's pretty exciting.
You can't think of it in linear progression.
Well, my joke is I'm doing what I went to school for. I'm just not making enough money to buy a house yet. It'll come with time.
Yeah, it'll come.
But no, that's exciting. I will. We joked about this before we started recording that we want to spend time together, but we have so much other stuff going on in our lives, and actually running the website takes a lot of my time.
Yeah.
That itself, if I'm not at work, I'm writing articles or I'm doing something with that website, and yeah, I'm just busy, and it's a labor of love. These are the things that I really love doing, so I'm not complaining. Could be a lot worse. Could be a blue collar worker, and that's something I've tried and I'm not good at. I've always been a creative person, so doing that's. How's it going? I'm with Derek. Wild Ashley appears.
Woo!
You're in a job interview right now. You're like a creative person.
Well, you think it sounded like I was on a job interview?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I am. It's me begging people to look at our website is what it is. It's me giving them please, out of pity, read our articles that we write.
Our traffic's been going up. Thanks to you.
I try and post something every day. Can't promise it's good, but I try to post stuff every day. So anyway, let's stop talking about ourselves. Let's talk about the news and something we haven't done in a very long time.
Wait, weren't you going to talk about? Hey, before we get to that.
Right.
The new Gingrich event. It's got a weird last name. It's hard to say.
Gingrich.
Yeah,
Monday night in Des Moines, there was an evening with Newt. It was an event that was held with my employer, and so I helped run the event. Well, I didn't really run it. I just checked people in, make sure everything was okay. I will say I think it was a good event. I don't want to say I agreed with a lot of what Newt Gingrich was saying at this event, but it was kind of cool to be in that world a little bit. You know, I didn't get to meet him.
Oh, you didn't?
I could have, but I had a bunch of other things I was doing, so I just went to the event. But you know what I've heard, he's a really nice guy, which usually isn't surprising.
He's a cool guy. I would have loved to have met him. If I ever get the chance, that'd be such an awesome experience.
Yeah, I thought it was a good event. I mean, the people that went seemed to have a really good time and enjoyed it. He, as much as I don't agree with him politically, he's an interesting person to listen to. I think he has a great mind. I think he's a very smart guy. Don't necessarily agree with policy, but
Jake, are you a Democrat?
I'm registered as Democrat. I don't know if I'm full-blown Democrat because as you will find out, I criticize Democrats a lot.
It's true, you do. Just breaks my heart a little bit, you know.
But that's the beauty of this country, Derek, is we can have different ideals, you know?
It's true. And the bedrock of our country is being able to talk about it. Hence this podcast.
But there were moments for sure, because there's, you know, he's sharing stories, and then there's, you know, moments where he does a Q&A, and there were definitely moments in both segments of that night. I was going, well, I don't know about that. Like I was doing a lot of that, but overall, I thought it was.
Did you talk a lot about working with Clinton, new speaker?
You know what's funny is I watched that documentary, the 90s documentary that CNN does, the decade documentaries.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched that one.
I watched that the night before, and I had no idea about his involvement with the Clinton stuff.
Yeah, he was Speaker of the House when they had a balanced budget. He's big reason why they were able to do that.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is something that I just.
Of course, I don't know what CNN's take was, but.
I mean, it was just it was the combative nature of the time because Republicans hadn't been empowered, and I think he said since
if you overall,
because he briefly talked about that.
If you really think about it, though, at that time in the late '90s or early '90s, right, whenever it was that he was a speaker,
95, I think.
Yeah, okay, mid '90s.
And I was a child.
I mean,
so.
they balanced the budget. They got our economy on track. That was right before the technology boom really happened. You know, that was that the last time that Democrats and Republicans actually worked. I mean, sure, combative, but they worked together on policies to get it done. You know, like,
yeah, I know.
Think about right now if. Not one Democrat votes for a single policy put together by Republican lawmakers right now, and it's, you know, been that way back and forth for years now, and it's really unfortunate that they can't work together on anything anymore.
And that's what
when it comes to big legislation and policies.
Yeah, and that episode of the documentary is called "The Comeback Kid," and they talk about how Clinton still managed to win a second term despite all the controversy, and they talk about how he angered Democrats because he actually did what you're supposed to do in government and compromise and said, okay, I will give Republicans this, but this is what I want. You know what I mean? And you're right.
And
we don't do that anymore.
Things worked out pretty well. Just like, I mean, like Trump wanted to compromise on some things to get the border wall up, and Democrats completely shut him down. I mean, they didn't give him an inch, and you know, at some point, you just have to, you got to be able to work together. You know.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think the Clinton era was the last time we really saw that because.
So hopefully that changes soon, or we just get some new parties in place.
We need new people. We need fresh blood in both parties.
Yeah. Well, it's happening. There's so many people dropping out of Congress now. And I think that's going to continue, especially, I mean, it's interesting to see the shift that's going on, especially on the Republican side. The Tea Party kind of started it, and then since then, with Trump coming to office, I mean, he's redefined what the Republican Party is, which is crazy. There was a Wall Street Journal article a few weeks ago. It was during the Kavanaugh debacle, which is just an embarrassment for our country that a man was treated that way. But they said I think the headline, or one of the headlines, was, "We are now all deplorables." So saying that the moderate or elitist, I don't know if elitist is the right word, but the old Republican Party is realizing that they need to team up with Trump and their supporters, or deplorables, and going in a completely new direction. And then you look at the other side, and I don't think it's as strong, but there is a pretty strong socialist leaning, thing going on now, which to me is a little scary. But I think that it'll level out before it takes over the whole party. At least you hope so. We'll see come these midterm elections.
I think they should. We're running long on this, but I think that who cares? It's our show. I think that there should be a separate party for that, because I don't think that, you know what I mean? I think there should be a separate social democratic party than the Democratic Party.
But the thing is, in the end, it comes down to the two ideologies, and so you can have another party, but really it's just a faction of the Democratic Party, which is pretty much what's happening right now anyways with democratic socialists. I put it in quotes because that's not a real thing. And more traditional Democrats, which, well, we'll see what happens in the midterm elections, which is what our show is going to be all about today, making sure that you get out and vote.
Yes, we talk about fresh blood and all the importance of that. Yes, vote, please. So this time we're gonna get to that. That'll be the topic of the show: voter reform, and the importance of voting. But first, we got to do something we haven't done in months, and that is the Watson Report.
I'm Derek Watson, and this is the Watson Report. We just got 3 topics for you today. We're going to talk about news and politics first. Elizabeth Warren is Native American, kind of, not at all, actually, depending on who you ask. There's a good CNN article that says that she has, strong Native American roots. But then if you look at the actual results, it was between 0, so 0 is a possibility, and about 1.5% chance that she had any Native American blood, which is less than the average Caucasian America. And here we are talking about this several years later. I mean, there's 2 sides to this, in my opinion. One, there's, as you've noted when we talked about, this story is so stupid that I hate that we're talking about it. Just the fact that, that she did this, and it's not even just that, and here's the other side of it. It's just disappointing that she would lie about something like that. But then, furthermore, to go on and build on that lie, use that as part of her Harvard application. And I'm not going to say what Trump says, that that's the reason why she got it, because we don't know that to be true or not. It could have played a small factor, but I don't want to get into that. I think that she is a smart woman in the end, but that she used that there, and she's used that in her political life since then, talking about Native American recipes that her mother passed down, which were found to be plagiarized, and just things like that throughout. And it's like,
I did not know about
why.
That.
Yeah, no, there's a few stories like that, and it's just like, why? And then she goes on. I mean, she calls Trump the racist or whatever for attacking her for lying, but then she says that he's attacking Native Americans when literally he's not, because she's not a Native American. So the whole story is, it's just another one of these stories that it's like, why aren't we talking about real issues here? Why is this woman even in power to begin with?
The main reason I put it in there, and I wanted to talk about it because even, when you're reading the article, you're like, this is, whatever, this is stupid. And I was like, that's the point. I think we should talk about it in a sense that this is a call to arms Democrats playing this game, because if you keep as Trump won because you played into his joke, you played into his Pocahontas nonsense, and by doing that, you've hurt yourself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Because in a way, yes, we should laugh at this because we should laugh at American politics occasionally, but like, you can't play into that game with him because it's not going to work. Every time they do that, they lose.
He wins. Yeah, exactly.
Beat him on policy. Beat him on your politics. Don't beat him. Don't, you know.
We can get into that. I mean, problem is Democrats can't win on policy because their policies are higher taxes and killing babies. So it's kind of hard to win on.
Although,
sorry,
don't even get me started on tax cuts and the deficit. But anyway.
Deficit, yeah. Spending is absolutely a problem right now, and Trump has said that he'll never sign a bill like that again. I really hope he doesn't. Congress needs to get their act together. That's another example of if the parties could work together to come up with a better budget, because, I mean, it's out of hand right now.
Yeah.
Spending is a different issue than the tax cuts, though.
And, and I was, I do my best to listen to, I don't really have a choice when I listen to it. This isn't a jab at conservatives, but this is a jab to certain conservative personalities. I have to listen to them because of the situation I'm in. But I listen to the other side, and when I listen to both these sides, I think they both can kind of agree that this was a dumb move. Like, why would you do this when you're 3 weeks out from the midterms?
What are you referring to?
The Elizabeth Warren stuff. Like, why? Oh, yeah. Why do the DNA test, all that stuff, play this game three weeks out?
I know.
You think that's gonna win?
Like, here's my opinion. I almost think that maybe she believed that she was Native American, and so maybe she didn't think she was lying. And if that's the case, I'll give her a little bit of a benefit of the doubt there. That's the only reason I could think that you'd actually do that. And other than that, I think that Democrats realized that the Kavanaugh situation really was hurting them in the polls bad, because actual American citizens that watched that, and there were a lot, saw that the way that they attacked him was just absolutely ludicrous, and how there was no proof that he ever did anything wrong, and they just filleted him.
I agree. I think that, it was even during the Gingrich stuff. There are definitely Democrats that flipped because of that, and the way that happened. And for me, it's like, again, if you don't agree, if you don't think Kavanaugh was a good choice, if you don't think that it happens, I'm not getting into the whole situation with the allegations, because I don't know. I don't know any of the stuff that happened. None of us really.
She for sure lied. It became very obvious throughout this whole thing.
Well, my thing is, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't.
Yeah,
I don't really have. I don't really have an opinion of it, but I think that the way that the whole situation was treated on either side was not handled the best way, and I think it was worse for the Democrats because people are leaving. Because you're right, he was.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to disagree with you.
Well,
I think that the Republicans played that masterfully. I think they did that exactly the way that they should have. They gave her a chance to talk, which they didn't have to do.
Did a great job.
And then they hired a professional that is literally, her job is to talk to people that are in these situations, knows how to ask the right questions, so that she wasn't being drilled by a bunch of old white dudes, which the Democrats would have killed them over. They were very respectful about it the whole time. They did an investigation. They gave them another week for the FBI investigation. They went through all these hoops just to make honestly, in the end, because they knew that they were going to get it through, and that nothing was going to come of it, because it was so obviously a political play, that it made the Democrats look bad. And I think that for the first time in a long time, I really felt like the Republicans cohesively played the situation politically in a smart way, and while still treating this woman and Brett Kavanaugh with respect.
I guess my thing is, I think that No, I think that the Senate handled it the right. It's handled it well with the investigation. Well, not with the hearing is what I meant to say, not the investigation. The hearing I think was handled well, and I agree with you there. I just think that after all that's happened with the Kavanaugh stuff, to have her have this DNA test and cause this is just idiotic. And then pressing him to pay the $1 million, I'm like, oh my God, you're making it worse. You're making it worse because he said this at a rally, and we know he does this. He says these things.
Well, I mean, and also
to pump up the crowd. Like that's his whole shtick.
And also, like I think she should have to pay him the $1 million if they're going to go to that, because it says that it could be 0%. They just can't say with absolute certainty. And they also didn't test against any Cherokee blood. They didn't even use Cherokee blood in the test. So, I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous.
Yeah. And one final thing with that. If we're going to go based on those statistics, I'm sure you could probably find Native American blood in all of us, because that's where it's like that's where our country starts.
And it's it's like the margin of error in these tests. So, anyways,
well, I guess not everybody, but a good portion of the population.
Well, yeah. The point is with these tests, they're not 100% accurate. So you're probably going to have up to 1% of anything just because the nature of the test. All right, on to sports. In the NBA, G League is offering alternatives to one and done players. Well, it's actually, high school players who choose not to do the one and done pass. So yeah, I guess that's worded right. I just sound like an idiot now. Basically, the NBA G League is now going to be offering $125,000 contracts for 18-year-olds coming out of high school, who would have been coming out of high school, who are elite talents. So there's only a select number of them, and obviously not eligible for the draft yet because they didn't go to college. I think that, it's about damn time that the NBA picks up on this. And it's exactly what baseball does.
And if I'm the NCAA, I'm pissed because I think...
Who cares? We hate those guys.
Oh, remember? I don't like the NCAA, but if I were the NCAA, I'd be mad because that's a lot of money you're taking out, because even the one and done people, they generate you a lot of money. But I agree. I mean, if they're not going there for a real education, if they're a one and done, they're not going there for school.
Yeah.
Why not?
And I know it's not fair to anybody, because who does it benefit when they go to college for 1 year? It benefits the NCAA and the school for having that talent. Sure, but when it comes to all the actual people involved, the player risks hurting himself and ending a multi-million-dollar, career, risks losing a contract, misses out on a year of real NBA training, and obviously is playing for free in that situation.
Right.
And then as taxpayers in a local area, you're paying for his scholarship essentially for him not to go to class. And then on top of that, you're paying to watch these players on television, like apart from the NBA, or go to the games or pay concessions. There's all these things that go into it. It just doesn't make sense that they can't just go play pro if they're good enough, obviously.
Right.
Baseball does it perfectly. They have how many leagues that you can go into?
Oh yeah,
their draft lasts a month because there's 2,000 players that get drafted.
There's 2 or 3 levels of farm leagues that you go through.
Yeah.
Where you
can get out of high school and get paid a reasonable salary, not $125,000, but just a small salary. You might have to pick up an extra job on the side, like a lot of people do. But you can just start playing and then get better, work professionally, do what you want to do. And if you're good enough, eventually work your way up to get into the major leagues. It just makes so much sense. I think it's harder to do that with football just because the nature of the game.
Oh yeah, and there's
with basketball.
So much...
It's dumb that they haven't been doing this.
Right.
So how much do you think the Ball family has to do with this happening?
Oh, with the where did they go?
G League expansion. Well, just because
I can't remember the country he went to, but.
Oh yeah, I don't remember Lithuania or
right. Yeah, it was Lithuania.
Was it? Yeah, something overseas. But that and just how vocal they've been about it and how big of a figure they be.
I think
became.
I think they're a huge impact on this. I think this change doesn't happen without LeVar Ball and the Ball family doing all the stuff that they've been doing, and it does change. I agree. I think
Which is so crazy. Think back to the first time you heard about LeVar Ball. Like, what your thought was. Like, all right, who's this dude?
This is the
He's
thing.
crazy.
People, and this is say what you want, but the dude's a genius. And
oh yeah, he's a brilliant marketer.
Because nobody likes him.
He's actually pretty funny.
He's funny, but nobody likes him. And
His kids love him.
Changing the game. He keeps changing the game. And
he pretty much willed Lonzo to go to the Lakers.
Yeah. And then this stuff with the G League, he's pretty much said, oh, you know what? My kids are good enough. Don't go to college. We're going overseas so you can make money. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's frustrating at like somebody that he's so smart in one thing, but like he's such a jerk at the same time. And he's entertaining. I'll give him that.
He is.
And he's changing the game. So I think it's a good thing. And I'm just wondering how this is going to work maybe with because the NBA has farm teams too. They have so maybe that's how it works too, is they play here or they go to the farm league and do, I don't know exactly how that works.
The G League is already a thing. It had the same rules so that they couldn't do like the straight out of high school and they didn't have those big contracts. So they're just adding to the G League. One thing I totally forgot I wanted to add to this. Did you happen to watch any of UFC 229?
Oh, the riot at the end of it?
Yeah. So I'm gonna start. Did you watch it?
I saw the end of it. I saw when Khabib jumped out of the.
Well, before that, Derek Lewis became my favorite UFC fighter.
Oh, my balls!
Did you see that interview? Oh my god, it was so. We were crying, laughing, watching this guy. I don't know if you saw the whole interview, but it's worth checking out.
Oh yeah.
It starts off with Joe Rogan coming up. He took his shorts off after he knocked the Russian dude out.
Yeah, I watched that.
And he's like, Rogan's like, "Why'd you take your shorts off?" "Oh, my balls was hot." And then he goes on to say,
Donald Trump told me to knock that Russian mother effer out.
Yeah. and then one of my favorite lines, he's like, "You're like a real contender now. How does it feel?" And he's like, "Man, I don't know. I just need to sit my ass down and do some cardio." The dude was funny. So he became my new favorite fighter after that. And then, for those of you that haven't seen, Conor McGregor going against Khabib.
Yeah, I just call him
his last name, Khabib, it was a really good fight. I mean, they both showed strengths. Khabib was winning for sure. And he got Conor to tap out, and it was an intense fight. I mean, great win for Khabib, undefeated. Conor just looked so like empty and defeated after. And then he had to go and ruin it by immediately just jumped out, attacked Conor's trainer, which is how the whole thing started when he slapped Conor's trainer, like before any of this stuff happened. So he goes, attacks him, and then I think the worst part is that he has two of his buddies jump in the ring and hit Conor in the back of the head right after he lost. I mean, that was like, if the UFC wants to avoid getting turned into WWE, like this stuff cannot happen.
Honestly,
and he needs to be. I don't think Khabib should be allowed to fight again.
I think this works for UFC in the right way.
No, you're a WWE fan. That's all you want.
You don't want it to be WWE, but I'm telling you, it gets eyeballs on there because people would have watched it anyway. You have your UFC fans, but that was mainstream news when that happened, and it's the same thing when Conor.
That's not what it's about though. Conor McGregor gets them enough news. The attacking the bus thing was one thing, and it was a little much, but it didn't cross the line like nearly as much. He didn't really hurt anybody. It was a little stunt that they pulled, which I'm sure I think it was a little bit planned. But this, really? Yeah, because before the fight, they were doing all the build up and they were talking about how Khabib started it and then Conor went and threw the thing at his bus, and they had so many camera angles on that. Like really good camera angle. Like it was ridiculous. It was like 40 camera angles, and I was like, why do they have so many cameras on this right at that moment? Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't think that they planned for him to throw the dolly at the bus, but I think that they planned to like kind of have him like they knew he was going to come out and they wanted a commotion, so they wanted to catch it, and then Connor escalated a little far. But no, I mean, it was disgusting to me what Khabib did after that fight, and I lost respect for him for sure. Hell of a fight though.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on, does Nebraska get their first win against Bethune-Cookman, or does it happen before that?
So either Minnesota or Bethune.
Yeah.
You know, I really, really want to say that we're going to win against Minnesota this week. But
yeah,
it's just, man.
After last week, I don't believe in anything this team
that was,
can do.
Oh my God. Well, we were up by 10 with like 3 minutes left. Is that what it was?
Yeah. I've lost all faith in the sport of football. So
Hey, Baker Mayfield, man.
By the way,
it's
a big game this week. It's Bucks-Browns this week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to talk about that. I'll be sure to be texting you.
God, I'm so glad that the Bucks fired Mike Smith. I'm sorry. In the NFL, you can't lose games when your team scores almost 30 points every game. You can't. It's ridiculous. So, what's the next topic?
I think we're gonna let's talk about what we came here to talk about. I don't think it's gonna be a super long conversation, but I think it is a super important one.
Yes. Voter reform and the importance of voting during the midterms. And we actually talked about it with the Elizabeth Warren stuff, kind of funnels into this. I think I want to see I wonder what you think about this, because you kind of mentioned it. I think the Kavanaugh hearing has energized both sides. I'd say the more on the right side than the left. But I think that it's definitely changed things, for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that both sides have been more energized for a midterm than probably in a long time. Besides maybe the Tea Party revolution for the right. But I do think that the Kavanaugh issue was a really big deal for a lot of people, especially on the right, because the scariest part, I think, for everybody on the right looking at that, and that's kind of the perspective I come from, so that's why I talk more from it, was the idea that we could be at a place where you're guilty until proven innocent, which I know people probably heard that term a lot over the past few weeks, but when it comes to a sexual assault allegation, I mean, I think that every allegation should be looked at credibly and examined, but if you have to prove that you didn't do something 36 years ago, you know, that's a scary thought for the future of like if I ever have sons or myself growing up, what if I'm in the political sphere and somebody wants to say that I did that and it's completely not true, and like, what am I supposed to do? So I think that just simply that idea is that you can just be attacked with absolutely no proof and possibly have your career and your life and your family's lives just completely upended. I think that really scared a lot of people into wanting to be more active and make sure that the people that were behind this, and I'm not saying all Democrats or liberals were behind this, but it was coming from that side. So it energized people for sure, I think. I mean, it's so hard because you don't really know for sure until the elections actually happen. Because like these polls, I don't buy them one bit, especially after what happened in 2016.
Well,
they're so far from true.
Well, yeah, and I think there was a lot of silent Trump voters with those polls. You know, I don't think everybody reports for us. Yeah.
Well, and those polls that I truly don't understand why the system hasn't changed, because they still use landlines. And it's like, so like, have you ever talked to a pollster? Because I haven't.
I have not.
No. I don't think I know anybody that's talked to a pollster like our age. And I don't know. I think the polls are just like so like you got to take it with a huge helping of salt.
Yeah, and I think this is my response to the stuff with Kavanaugh. I think that this whole idea of if the left truly wants to win, they have to stop doing identity politics. They have to, and I know that there's no evidence that they will, but they need to. And we live in this culture where we have to put a hashtag on everything. And I am someone that says, yes, any sane human being is going to say, yes, we should believe survivors and we should worry about these things. But we also live in a climate where women lie about those things. There's women that do lie, and it hurts the people that are truly, raped or have sexual assault stuff happen to them. It truly does. And we gotta just stop. We're so addicted to this idea that we have to go after somebody and we have to attack something. And it's just like, why don't we get all the evidence? Why don't we figure out everything and sort this out the right way? And go ahead.
Oh, I totally agree with you that the left needs a better strategy than that. Because the interesting thing is what happens over time when you're constantly attacking people and dividing everybody into different identity groups and telling them that they're oppressed, is that eventually you're going to run out of people to divide and people to attack. And then you're just going to have a completely divided base. So I wish that it could become more of a policy-driven thing, because I think that would be a lot easier for conservatives to win on. But I 100% agree with you.
And I think that with the Kavanaugh stuff, I think it has energized both sides. Because if you were truly angry about what happened, that maybe it's the sexual assault, maybe you don't think he was a good enough judge, maybe you think, like I did, that it came off a little too partisan, and given the situation, given the fact that he was being attacked, and given the fact that all this stuff was happening to his family, I understand why he was emotional in his hearing. I just, if you're going to be upset about his policies or whatever the issue it is, then do something about it and vote.
Yeah.
That's how you change it.
Yep.
You can't change the Supreme Court.
We can sit here and talk about it and complain all we want, but if you don't vote, then you really don't have any stake in it. Exactly.
And that's why Paul Rubidoux, good friend of mine, Derek, you haven't met him because I only met him.
The hell of a name, Rubidoux.
Yeah, his favorite thing to say is it's like Scooby Doo, but it's Rubidoux. He's very much. Yeah, he's a very smart guy, very smart political guy. I'd love to have him on and talk politics sometime. But he wrote the article, "Don't Vote, Don't Complain." It's up on loudandopinionated.com, and that's his whole article. Was like he goes, it just bothers me when all these people can complain and half the population didn't even vote in 2016.
I know.
Or wrote in Harambe.
I know. I think I was a little confused when I first saw the article title. I thought he was saying that we shouldn't vote. So I was like, oh, this is going to be weird and controversial. And I read it and I totally agree with him. I think it should be "don't vote?" ? Like, you don't vote, then shut the hell up, because you don't have any right to talk to me. Because I think that's where he's getting with it.
Yeah, that's also probably my bad, because I edited it on the site, so that's probably my bad. But yeah, and he made a great point. It's like and especially our millennials have to vote. If you're really upset about this stuff and you really are, whatever side, I don't even care what side of the spectrum you're on, just vote, man. Make a difference.
Vote for Don Bacon, but vote. Well, and I really like
I'm a Fred Hubble guy.
What Paul touched on is it's not just about the presidential election and congressional elections. There's a lot of local positions that you need to be voting on, and different issues that are going to affect you directly day to day. So it's so important that we go out and vote. I think that another thing that everyone should do that I don't think a lot of people do or have time to is really researching what they're going to be voting for, so they can feel informed. I remember the first time I went to vote, and I had no idea that there were going to be 35 different things that I had to vote on. I didn't know any of the people. Like, I didn't understand a lot of the issues. And I remember just being really intimidated and being like, oh, I'm just going to check some boxes and hopefully that works out. And it's not the way it should be. There's a lot of resources now that you can just go online. Ballotpedia has a pretty good just list of what votes that you're going to be doing in your area. Your county or city websites are going to have information on voting. So just educate yourself a little bit. I signed up to do the at-home ballot, so I'm waiting for it to be mailed to me. And in Omaha, you can just drop it off in a box, or you can mail it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so I can sit down and really think about what I'm doing. But come on, guys, it's really important.
I agree. Yeah, it's for me. Yes, it's very much local things that you have to worry about because that is the midterms. It's a local election. Yes, there's governor, senate, there's a whole state, but it's also very much how it impacts you in your state. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to, if you're registered Republican or Democrat, don't be afraid to vote for a Republican if you're a Democrat or vice versa. And I think there's so much tribalism in modern politics. Don't be afraid to vote with your conscience. Don't be afraid to say, I align more with this person's values to vote for that person. And that being said, this is going to sound like I'm totally contradicting myself. Right now, I'm looking like I'm leaning more on, I'm probably going to vote more Democrat than anything else in this election. That being said, you can vote the other way if you want. I'm not,
I'm so disappointed.
I'm not going to play Trump's stupid game with Sidney Tax Me. It's a great joke. I'll give him that.
It's really good.
He's right. It was too easy.
Oh, my God. So I went to his rally. As you know, we didn't talk about that yet.
Yeah.
I went to his rally, was it last week? Yeah. He is so funny. Like, I couldn't I was laughing the whole time. It was one of the coolest experiences. My parents got there. The rally, the doors didn't open until 3. The event started at like 6 or so. My parents actually got there at 10:30 that morning to get in line. And there are already about 300 people in front of them. So I showed up a couple hours later. By 1 o'clock or 12:31 when I got there, there was probably 1,500 people in line. And then by the time the doors opened, I mean, we couldn't see it. I mean, there was no end in sight of the line. There were probably 10,000 people that didn't get it. I mean, it was so crazy, and everybody there was so friendly. And it was a ton of fun. It was almost like a big tailgate outside. There were people making tacos and stuff. And then, I mean, I'm obviously a Trump supporter. I'm a deplorable, and I had the time of my life there, and it was surreal to see like the president of the United States, like right there.
It's the same thing with the Newt Gingrich thing is I would have liked to, and this is another thing, I mentioned tribalism. Go out on the other side, even if you don't agree with anything, even if you're far left, go and see what the other side thinks. Go experience that. I would have gladly gone to the Trump rally if I didn't have to work the next day. I would have gladly gone to that and been like, what's a Trump rally really like? On the inside of it. I would have gone. Probably wouldn't have.
It was fun. It was like a party in there.
I was like, oh, God. With a name like Axney, I was like, he's going to make a tax joke. It's just right there. It's just dangling.
It was great. It was hilarious, too. So the rally was in Council Bluffs, which if you don't know is basically Omaha. It's just like it's a suburb of Omaha, but it's in Iowa.
Even though you made fun of me for that, even though I said, dude, it's pretty much Omaha. But
yeah, I mean, it's in Iowa, so it sucks, but it's connected to Omaha. So, and it's obviously way smaller than Omaha. So the place was filled with Nebraskans mostly, but since it was in Iowa, Trump was prepared to talk more about Iowa and what was going on there and how great they're doing jobs and numbers wise and all that. So he's talking about that, and Ricketts was there, and so was there were several like state councilmen and women from both states, as well as congressional U.S. Congress nominees. Anyway, so he's talking about Iowa, and then he kind of mentions and Nebraska something too. And like the place just erupted.
Go Big Red chants.
Yeah, well, we weren't there quite yet, but yeah. So he stepped back from the podium and was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And he stepped up. He was like, "We got to do that again." And then he said Nebraska, and everybody went crazy. And then we started the Go Big Red chant. It was just, I mean, it was a great experience. Really cool. I recommend going if he ever comes around to Des Moines. It was pretty awesome. And I would gladly go see if once the 2020 campaigns come around and we see who the real competitor is going to be. I'd be interested in seeing like what their rallies are like, what their people think.
That's what I'm most excited about being in Des Moines, because it's, Iowa's the first caucus. It's one of the most important caucuses, and they all come to Des Moines because it's the capital and it's in the middle of the state. So they all come here. So I'm excited.
2020 is going to be an exciting year. I will say, you were touching on voting for either side and who you associate with. I think that's really important for your local elections. I will just put this caveat in there when it comes to the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate and Congress. If you really believe more in conservative policies or liberal policies, I think that's the one case where you should vote along your party line more than you vote against it, just because they're not going to have as direct of effect on the actual policy as an individual, where it's a team effort once you get to the U.S. Congress level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you need those numbers, and if you're voting against your party because you believe more in a specific individual person, you're kind of not really helping anyone. I just want to throw that out there. I know it's a little bit. I mean, maybe I didn't explain it super well, but
it makes sense. I get where you're coming from, and I agree with that sentiment. But yeah, one last thing I want to touch on real quick.
Sounds good. I'm getting hungry.
I don't like. Well, I'm actually going to see the new Halloween.
Oh, that looks so good.
I'm excited. Real quick,
my girlfriend doesn't watch scary movies.
Collectively as a country, can we stop saying that voter ID is racist? Can we stop making everything racist?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That is the most ridiculous thing.
Is it so much to ask to say, hey, man, you're deciding our government. Why don't you be who you say you are?
I know.
Prove it.
Well, it's like, I mean, you need an ID to get a book from the library, but you don't need any identification to vote for who's going to be running our country.
Exactly.
I have to say, like, it's one of those things that it's so mind-blowing, like how simple and like logical it is to ID somebody to vote.
And it's like, this should not be
like
a
how it's such a
bipartisan
big
issue.
fight.
Like, it should just be a straight line.
Like, very simple, very, very simple. You have to be an American citizen to vote according to our laws. So
and you're deciding our government.
Yeah, because literally, I mean, like, you want to talk about other countries, interfering in our elections. If China wanted to, they could just pick certain swing areas and just ship over hundreds and hundreds of Chinese people, because they have so much money and so many people that they can do that, and get them all in there for a couple weeks, and then they can just sneak into the polls and vote in certain areas, because there's literally like no security, no ID verification.
Yeah,
I mean, in a lot of areas, not everywhere. Obviously, it's different by area. But I agree with you. It's not a racist argument. It's about, like, it's just our country. It's our sovereignty.
Stop again, Democrats. Stop playing identity politics, because this is how you get. If you're so mad about Trump, you created Trump. Like, that's the thing. If you're so mad about it, you created it because of the way that you play politics. It doesn't work anymore.
They're just mad. It's just funny to me because I just hate him so much because he's, like, brash. It's not like his ideas are like extreme right ideas. They're pretty normal to moderate conservative ideas that Republicans have been pushing forever. He's just loud about it, and he's making it happen, and so they hate him. They hate him because he wins, is why.
Speaking of loud, this has been another episode of Loud and Opinionated. You can get this show on Apple Podcasts, Podbean. It's our home base. You can also go to loudandopinionated.com. goodness, where you can also listen to our episodes, read some articles. I've posted stuff. Derek's posted stuff. We've had other contributors. And if you want to post for us, you can. We're not here to silence anybody's opinion. That's what we set out to do. That was our mission statement. Matter the opinion, you can put it on our website. And thank you so much for listening. And hopefully we'll be back next week. We'll see. I'm Jake Williams. With me as always, Derek Watson. And have a great day.
See you later. Go vote.